Yes, and if I don't pay up, I'll go to jail for tax evasion. I'm crazy enough to take on Batman, but the IRS... No, thank you.
Hey everybody. Once again, a real lawyer. Not some nudnik, not some mentally ill detractor, not some, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you're not a mature adult. Goes over just how badly DSP has fucked himself. With bank moves to take DSP's condo. Let's go.
Of Darkside Phil's bankruptcy continues with a new motion
Yes, it does.
from the bank that holds the lien on his property in Connecticut. Let's talk about what this means for Phil.
God, why does she look like she's freaking out? Thinking I'm a blue-haired Muppet, aren't I? I got blue hair, that makes me a Muppet, right, DSP?
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, small law firm in central Minnesota, currently on Corona lockdown. And today we're going to talk a little bit about this new motion in Darkside Phil's bankruptcy case that comes from the lien holder of his Connecticut condominium and their request for an exemption from the automatic stay granted by filing a bankruptcy proceeding. We'll talk about that in just a second. If you like these short legal update videos, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button, hit the bell, all of that stuff, so you get the updates as they come out. We're covering this case and several other cases, which you may find very interesting. And we tend to have live streams every weeknight around 11 p.m. Central Time. Come check one out from time to time, see if you like it. Until then, let's get back into this DSP issue here. So here we go. Here is the document. This is a motion for relief from the stay and a memorandum in support thereof.
I already uploaded it.
All right, if you guys don't know about this, I assume you do if you're watching the video. DSP, better known as Darkside Phil, better known. Anyways, DSP is filed for bankruptcy. He has 2 properties that he listed in his bankruptcy affidavit, along with a bunch of other stuff that we don't need to go into. You can find coverage on that on this channel and elsewhere. But for the purposes of right now, we're talking about just his Connecticut property, which is not, as I understand, his primary residence. This is a condo that he's owned for a very long time and is pretty steeply in debt on. All right. Groundwork. An automatic stay is granted when you file a bankruptcy proceeding. What that automatic stay does is it prevents people from taking action on the collection of an outstanding debt. So these guys are, trying to extract a payment from Phil. They may be considering foreclosing on the property. They can't do that while the automatic stay is in effect in his bankruptcy. So since he filed bankruptcy, they have to halt all collection efforts. They can't even call him. They can't do anything. And if they do, there could be penalties for unfair debt collection practices. So the automatic stay is to give people not only monetary relief from their debt, it's also to give them sort of a personal, emotional relief from the stress of having debt collectors contacting you at all times of the day and trying to get you to pay. He is pretty stressed. All right. So let's take a brief perusal through the document and we'll talk about the legal basis for all of this. So comes now Mid-First Bank. They're the creditor here, and they move the court to pursuant to 11 U.S.C. 362D for an order terminating the automatic stay. And this would be just with respect to this creditor,
this would have been avoided
them
if he
to
had just
proceed
shown up
with
to
any
court
and all
on this
contractual and statutory remedies incident to the interest held by virtue of the note and deed of trust described below and attached as exhibits to this motion in memorandum. Now, in this video, I'm not going to go through the exhibits. The exhibits are basically just, I could show you them, except I didn't redact the address, so I don't want to do that. But basically, it's just we hold the deed and the note. So we hold the mortgage note and we hold the deed of trust to this property. We have standing to bring this cause of action. We're the creditor that is aggrieved by the bankruptcy and stands to lose out on this proceeding from our ability to remedy the debt. All right. So the property, I didn't highlight any section here, but it's his Connecticut property. The original lien amount was $128,000. He owes about $109,000, something like that. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's the debt. As of February 12th, 2020, debtor is due for the May 1st, 2019 payment. So he is almost a year behind. He is now 10 months behind. He was 11 months behind prior to this. The approximate amount owed under the terms of this note is $108,180.76. Of course, it's approximate because every day that amount is going to increase
with interest rates.
With every day the interest being compounded back into the loan. The value of the property as represented in the debtor's sworn schedules is $60,611. So he is underwater on this property by about $48,000. It means he has no equity, and he actually owes $48,000 in excess of what is
could have been avoided if he paid it off when he was making tea and honey money.
So when you figure in if they foreclose on the property, it's going to cost the bank several $1,000s to prosecute that foreclosure. It's going to cost, there's recollection efforts. There may be cleaning and maintenance that needs to be done to the property. So really, the bank is sitting here in a really bad position. Having Phil owe them over $50,000 more than what the property is actually worth when all of the fees and costs of sale are going to be figured into it.
Ouch.
So they're trying to protect their interest in collecting this debt. They don't want this thing to go through Chapter 7 protection. They don't want any of that. They want to protect the property as best they can.
They want that money, honey.
Probably foreclosing on it as fast as possible. Especially now that they know he's looking for total relief from paying for it. That was actually in his schedules and the other documents, is that he had mentioned that he was planning to give up the property and to maintain his other property. So the argument and authority here, why they should be granted relief from the automatic stay would be to prosecute a motion for relief from the automatic stay as to enforcement of a note. Indeed, a movement must establish that it has an interest in the note either as a holder or as a party entitled to enforce the note. In this case, this seems like it's a very pro forma sort of section because they're the sole lien holder on the property. They hold all of the they hold the deed of trust, they hold the lien. They don't have to do much to show they have an interest. But if this were a property with several junior mortgages on it, like second, third, fourth mortgage, or if it was secured by some judgment, right? Like they lost a lawsuit and the person won a lien on their house or something, it could be tricky to show that there's an ownership interest. Here, no trick at all. Very simple. We own the sole
they bought it. They own
note
it. They
on the
want their
property.
money.
We are entitled to bring suit. Okay, so the basis for the relief from the stay, this is where this is their legal argument as to why the automatic stay shouldn't apply to this particular debt for this particular creditor. This doesn't relieve them from the total stay. All of DSP's other stuff will still be stayed. The credit card companies can't call him, can't collect payments, stuff like that. Interest is still building, but they don't get to hassle him for collection. So under 11 U.S.C. 362 D2, on request of a party in interest, that was discussed just above, the court shall grant relief from the stay if there is no equity in the property and the property is not necessary for an effective reorganization. Now, reorganization of debt is where they take the assets that you do have, leverage those assets or auction them off or whatever to get together a pool of money that they can then use to compensate in a proportional amount all of the creditors that are outstanding. That's the bankruptcy trustee's job, to kind of facilitate how that works and to make appropriate payments. In this case, a reorganization does not involve this property. Phil has no equity in it. So even if they forced a sale of the property, he's not going to
negative money.
Get some pool of money that will then be involved in paying out other creditors. So this creditor is arguing, we want to be exempt because we want to enforce our rights against this property, not have it be part of the bankruptcy, and there's no purpose in it being part of the bankruptcy. Bankruptcies do not relieve you of secured debt obligations, like a mortgage, a car note, something like that. Anything secured by a lien, those remain secured by the lien through bankruptcy. You don't get to just, no more mortgage on my house, we're all good, I get to keep everything for free. That's not how it works. If you maintain the property, you maintain the secured lien position on that property. So that's they want to get there's nothing that this bankruptcy will do to relieve their obligations, so they probably want to move on with a foreclosure at this point in time, and they're basically filing this motion so they can do that. We have a little bit of a more legal argument here. Under 11 U.S.C. 362 D1, on request of a party in interest, the court shall grant relief from the stay for cause, including the lack. Now, shall is operative. The court shall do this. It must do it. Grant relief for the stay for cause, including the lack of adequate protection of an interest in such property. Adequate protection is lacking where there is an insufficient equity cushion in the subject property. Now, they're referencing a case in R.E. Meller. If you guys have ever bought a home, you may know about having property insurance or mortgage insurance that you have to pay
PMI.
If you have less than a 20% equity position in the property. This is a case that explores that 20% equity position. Having 20% equity in the property is considered having security of the property, because they have found over the years that someone who has a 20% equity position is less likely to walk away and leave the property to disrepair, because you own 20% of it and you owe on 80% or more. And you owe on 80%. It doesn't always work out this way, but the odds are is that once someone is that invested in the property, they're kind of interested in maintaining it and maintaining that ownership percentage that they have, because that is valuable. And for a lot of people, the equity position that they build up in their property is one of the largest assets that they'll create over the course of their life. For kind of your average middle class person, that may be the biggest asset that you end up owning. You've heard the expression, a person's biggest investment is usually their home. And that's true for a lot of people here. So that's where that 20% figure kind of comes from. In R.E. Meller basically says if you have a 20% equity position, it is considered an adequate equity cushion, and that will ensure protection, or that gives the creditor some relative insurance of protection of the property. Here, DSP is pushing 140% loan to value ratio, which is way outside of acceptable scope on loan to value and a comfortable equity position. If he's not making payments, they want to get this property out of his hands. Because if he's not making payments on the property, if he doesn't care about the property, and in his case, if he's not living at the property, we have no indication that DSP is going to maintain the property. We don't know if he's going to keep it from, if he's going to winterize it, if he's going to prevent the pipes from freezing, if he's going to be out there to prevent vandalism, if the property is unoccupied. Who knows what could go wrong inside that property that will then cost the bank or the creditor money to repair to get it into a sellable state. They want to exercise their interest to protect the outstanding amount that is owed to them as fast as possible. So in the case at bar, considering the value of the property against the amount owed to creditor, there's no equity cushion. In fact, there's a negative equity position, which is really bad. And thus, creditor lacks adequate protection and the stay should be terminated. We need to take ownership of this property. He's already said he's not going to pay. We need to take it back.
He said it multiple times on live stream.
Selling it will not create a pool of cash available to compensate other creditors. In fact, even if we sell it, we're going to be in the hole on this, is all of the unspoken things that are being said here and will be argued before the court. Now, the motion hearing on this is set for April 10th. Whether or not we will have a motion hearing on it is up in the air with the coronavirus. If you remember, excuse me. Oh, no. Ah! If you remember, his 341 meeting of creditors was postponed until March 26th. No update on whether or not that will persist.
That can be done over the phone.
Or if it will be postponed as well. I guess it all depends on what happens over the next couple weeks with regards to the coronavirus, cancellations, rescheduling in the court. So lots of courts are shutting things down. We'll have to see what happens. But for now, if they get their April 10th hearing and if their motion is granted, the stay will be lifted on this Connecticut property, and the bank, Mid-Bank, I believe, Mid-America Bank, excuse me, where was it? it was MidFirst Bank. My bad. MidFirst Bank will have the option to go ahead and proceed with whichever collection agents or whichever collection avenues they want to go with, including letters and phone calls can resume. But more importantly for them will be the foreclosure proceeding to protect the interest in the property. And that's the most important thing to remember with these is banks are looking to protect a property from disrepair that they will have to pay after foreclosure to get it back into a sellable position. Remember, this bank is already going to eat dirt on the on collecting the total amount owed on this loan.
Sued for the rest,
and so they want to make sure to go ahead and protect what they can and cut their losses. So hope you guys found this informative. If you did, again, like, subscribe, share, all of that stuff. We will keep covering the DSP situation as it develops.
Good. Here's the thing, though. Like I said, they can sue him afterwards. They can take the property, and actually, they don't even have to sell it right away. I looked into it. They don't even have to sell it right away. So they can sit on it and be like, all right, well, you owe us 110, though probably because of interest billing and all that. Anyways, so you owe us 110. We can sell for 60. So here's a lawsuit for $50,000. Dude, you can't do that. Legally, we can. Fuck you. But I filed for bankruptcy. Yeah, and if you're lucky, you might be able to get rid of your credit card debt. If not, well, you still owe us. Like he just said, bankruptcy does not get rid of secured debts like mortgages and car loans. So they can sue for the 50 grand, get to 50 grand. Ooh, food's done. Get to 50 grand, and then be like, all right, well, we'll sit on this property for, 6 months later, it went up to $72,000 in value. Hey, we just made more money. Yay! Would they actually do that? Probably not. They probably want to get rid of it as soon as possible, but they don't have to get rid of it right away. They can hope maybe property values go up a little bit after they get the 50 grand from this dumbass. Do it, MidFirst Bank. We believe in you. Anyways, my food's done, so I'm going to go get something to eat. About time. I hope this was informative for you guys. I just can't wait. March 26th could be pushed back, or it could be done over the phone. Which we still get a transcript for it. We still get the transcript and or audio for it. I'm wondering if they're going to record the snorts. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, like, subscribe, comment down below, and have a wonderful day.